Codename: Mistaken Identity. Blurb: Lee Carson is a highly skilled covert agent, trained to handle perilous situations. But when she finds herself trapped in a dangerous situation with time running out, she dials for emergency extraction and accidentally reaches Amanda Lewis, a temp working the overnight shift at a public radio station. What starts as a routine mission turns into a chaotic partnership when Amanda, a spy enthusiast, thinks the whole ordeal is part of a game. But Lee's dangerous world soon becomes all too real as Russian mobsters and rogue agents close in, forcing Amanda to join her on the run. Together, the reluctant duo must figure out how to outsmart their enemies while navigating their growing attraction. From mistaken phone calls to high-stakes chases, this romantic spy caper will have you on the edge of your seat and laughing out loud. Excerpt: Amanda slouched at her desk, her eyes glazing over as the clock slowly ticked toward midnight. She absently twirled a pen between her fingers, the radio station's phone line utterly silent. It had been a slow night, just a few pledges trickling in here and there for public radio. She glanced at the envelope her aunt had sent her earlier that week, marked Spy Ventures role-playing experience. Amanda had chuckled at the thought. A quirky birthday gift for her obsession with espionage thrillers. She imagined herself as a suave, world-class spy, effortlessly outwitting villains and saving the day, all while looking fabulous in a tuxedo. But the sudden ringing of the phone snapped her back to reality. She jumped, startled. This late? Who would be calling now? Amanda cleared her throat and answered the call, her professional voice sliding into place. "Thank you for calling WBR." Before she could finish, a voice interrupted her. "This is Agent Vega Delta Alpha, requesting immediate extraction. Passphrase authentication required." Amanda blinked, her brain working to catch up. She must have misheard. What?" The voice came again, breathless and sharp with urgency. "Passphrase authentication. I need extraction now." Amanda squinted at the phone, a slow grin spreading across her face. This had to be it. Her first mission. Her aunt's Spy Ventures must have arranged for this elaborate phone call to kick off the experience. Her heart fluttered with excitement. Leaning into her role, she replied with dramatic flair. "Right? Of course. Make me a drink." There was a tense pause on the other end, followed by a low, impatient sigh. "You're new. Fine. The first half of the passphrase is martini. You need to respond with the second half for verification." "Martini, huh?" Amanda's grin widened. Clearly, this was some kind of James Bond reference. "Shaken, not stirred?" The voice on the line groaned audibly, though the response that followed was all business. "Finally. Now listen carefully. I'm trapped in a car trunk with a dead body in the back seat. I'm sending my coordinates. I need you to dispatch a secure team and get me out now." Amanda sat bolt upright in her chair, a laugh bubbling out of her before she could stop it. "Oh wow, you're really committed to this. I love it. Let me grab a pen so I can write down the coordinates." She was all in. This was the most fun she'd had on her overnight shift in months. There was another pause, this time filled with the sound of distant traffic. "This isn't a game," the woman growled, her voice tight with irritation. "I'm Lee Carson, a covert agent. I'm in serious danger, and if you don't get me out of here, I'm going to end up dead." Amanda's hand froze mid-reach for her pen. Something about the urgency in the woman's voice sent a cold shiver down her spine. "Wait, was this real?" "Look, Amanda faltered. "Are you serious?" "I don't have time to explain," Lee snapped. "Check your phone. I sent my location. You need to help me or I'm dead." Amanda fumbled for her personal phone, her heart pounding now for entirely different reasons. Sure enough, a text had come through with a string of coordinates. She stared at the numbers, the gravity of the situation crashing down on her. "Oh my God," she whispered. This wasn't a game. This was real. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. I'm not exactly equipped to. Then figure it out. Lee cut her off, her voice a razor-sharp command. Because if you don't, we both die. Amanda's pulse thudded in her ears. There was no going back now. With her hands trembling, she grabbed her bag and bolted for the exit. Lee groaned in the cramped trunk, her breath shallow as she tried to ignore the suffocating darkness. She'd made a colossal mistake trusting a stranger on the other end of that line. Desperation had led her to dial the wrong number, and now she was at the mercy of some clueless civilian who probably thought this was a joke. The sound of footsteps crunching outside the car snapped her to attention. Her pulse quickened. This was it. The mobsters who had her cornered were about to open the trunk. Lee steeled herself. She could fight her way out if she had to, but the odds weren't in her favor. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the air. The trunk popped open, flooding the small space with blinding streetlight. Lee squinted, her hand instinctively reaching for her weapon, only to find herself staring into the wide, terrified eyes of the woman from the phone. You're real," Amanda stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Lee hauled herself out of the trunk, her heart still racing. "No time for explanations," she muttered. "We have to go. Now." Amanda's eyes darted between Lee and the dead body in the back seat. Her face paled. "Oh my God." With a sigh, Lee grabbed Amanda's arm, pulling her toward a nearby alley. "Stay close. And no more questions if you want to survive this." Amanda nodded mutely, her previous bravado replaced by genuine fear. As they sprinted into the night, the world of shadowy operatives and thrilling espionage Amanda had always fantasized about was suddenly very, very real. And she was in way over her head. What Amanda had thought was a wild role-playing game was quickly turning into a life-or-death situation. But as they worked together to stay one step ahead of the mobsters, something shifted between them. Lee's icy demeanor began to crack, revealing the fierce loyalty and warmth hidden beneath the surface. And Amanda? Well, for a spy-obsessed office temp, this was the adventure of a lifetime. But as her feelings for Lee deepened, she realized that the danger wasn't just from the enemies chasing them. It was also the growing, undeniable connection between them. They just had to survive long enough to figure out what came next.